This is a quick video on how to use Google Forms to gather data for a hydroponic system. This is an example of a Google form that I've used to gather data on a hydroponic system with my students and then analyze the data. Okay, so how we start is we go to our Google Drive, New, More, Google Forms. First thing we're going to want to do is name our Google form, and let's start with something simple, like hydroponic data. Now, you need to know the different variables that you can monitor in your system, and definitely one important one would be pH. And we're going to change this to text, hit done. Duplicate, then we can do parts per million, done. We can do water temperature, and we'll make sure it's Fahrenheit. We could do air temperature. We could do plant height. Centimeters seems to be easiest. Fractions of an inch can be difficult, but when we're entering in centimeters and we're using decimal rather than fractions, it just seems to be easier. And then we have a couple variables already, and then one of the last things I like to do is just general observations. And this could be anything from plant conditions, water or nutrients added, any additional variables. Let's say you had a humidity meter there and you wanted to enter that in also, something you don't do all the time, but any other variables you wanted to add or put notes on. We're going to change this to paragraph text. Hit done. Okay, we could take a look at the form. There we go. Looks good. Now, if I were to go and enter this, say we had our pH tested, comes out to 6.0. Parts per millions, we use a little conductivity pen or a meter, and it comes out to 770. Water temperature 68, air temperature, let's put 70, plant height, let's put 12 centimeters. And then put last day for this nutrients. Need to change it out tomorrow. Plants look healthy. Okay. So we hit submit. And the cool thing about Google Forms is it automatically creates a spreadsheet. If we go back to our edited form version, we hit view responses. There's our spreadsheet. There's the data that we entered in. And nice thing it does, it adds the timestamp, so you have the time, the date that this information was taken. So you don't need to include that in the questions on the form. And to give you an idea what this would look like over a long period of time, here's a form that I've used with my students where they gather the data every period. And so you have the time, the parts per million, water temperature, pH. We had 3 different air temperatures throughout the system, and the humidity and general observations. So this is multiple months worth of data. And when you have all this, then you need to start analyzing it or monitoring it a little more closely as far as trends go. And using spreadsheets, Google Sheets, we can then insert charts. And there's all different charts out there, and you can change the settings. But they put together some basic ones that make it easy to monitor. And my favorite one is down here, and it's kind of monitors trends. So we'll take a look at one of those. And so here is parts per million. You can see how the parts per million have been over the past 3 months. And if we move my cursor there along, you'll see a dot, and then the parts per millions are actually changing up at the top for those specific numbers. And then what that allows us to do is to zoom in on specific days or weeks and see a trend for our parts per million, whether they're rising and falling. We can create just simple tables so that we can see the timestamp and any additional information. We can see the correlation between pH and parts per million. As one goes up, the other goes down, or vice versa, and then make hypothesis of why this is actually occurring. We can study our air temperatures and water temperatures and see if there's any correlation between the two, and just make sure we're staying in a proper range. If you go back, you can see we are actually trying to adjust this air temperature to bring it back down. We were using fans, and you can see the difference without a fan, which was around here, and with a fan. Okay, and then you see temperatures spike down a little bit, but these charts really allow us to manipulate and analyze our data a little bit more. Now, these forms can be entered on a desktop, a laptop, or even a smartphone accessory or device. And you can send this form via email or provide a link. And so students can take the form and fill it in as they take measurements of the data. So I hope this helps on a quick lesson on how to use Google Forms for gathering hydroponic data.